Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing our Kansas State football prediction. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Help me reach my goal of 1,200 subscribers before the end of August. I'm going to need your help by hitting that subscribe button down below. Like this video if you enjoy it. Comment all your thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know what you think Kansas State's record will be and how you think they do in the Big 12. Can they go back-to-back champs? Also, make sure you check out College Football Roundup. It is my exclusive podcast channel with American Football Network. There will be some exclusive videos on there. So make sure you go ahead, hit that subscribe button over there. Link will be up in the top right of your screen up there. I think I pointed in the right direction in the top right. So look out for that card, and let's get started with today's video. So with Kansas State, they have a very easy first part of the schedule before you get into the main chunk of their schedule. So in week one, they have a very easy week one win against Southeast Missouri. You should have no problem against the Red Hawks. You should get a pretty easy win and a good kind of warm-up game for the Wildcats. Then in week two, Week 2 is more of an interesting matchup. You have Troy coming in, just like last year. This is a very solid Group of 5 team. And last year you played Tulane and lost to them in Manhattan. Well, this year it's very possible that it could be similar. Like Troy went 12-2 last year, returns their starting quarterback. They have a lot of pieces. But at the end of the day, I do think K-State is able to get the win. I think that it's hard to pick Troy in this matchup. They're going to be a little bit worse. They don't return all of their defensive starters, really. They have some issues there. But I think K-State will be fine in that scenario. So I do have them winning that. Then they play Missouri in kind of a border war matchup. And I think that this is going to be an interesting game. I think that Missouri has some pieces to make it a very interesting game. But when it comes down to it, the biggest deal that I have with this game is quarterback. Who's the better quarterback? And between Brady Cook and Will Howard, I'm going to have to go with Will Howard. Brady Cook last year had a 65% completion percentage, 2,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 133 QBR. To Will Howard's 60% completion percentage, 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a 150 QBR. Will Howard was just a lot more efficient, and he kind of reminds me of his current offensive coordinator in Colin Klein. And I think that at the end of the day, Kansas State matchups well against this team, and I think that they'll be able to get a W there. Then you have a big matchup against UCF, their first matchup in the Big 12 Conference. Luckily, you don't have to play this game at the Bounce House, which is UCF Stadium, if any Kansas State fans don't know, because, well, you haven't played them. So I think with this game particularly, it is going to be a W. I think UCF, they have some solid pieces. They definitely are going to probably be one of the best, if not the second best, if not the best team when it comes down to it, joining the Big 12. John Reese Plumlee is a good quarterback, had a solid season last year. He is very much a dynamic running threat, as well as he was both the team's lead rusher with 862 yards, and that's after taking away sack yardage. And he averaged 5 yards a carry. Goodness gracious. And had over 2,500 yards in the air. I do think that they are going to have to improve when it comes to the defensive end. They did give up a lot of points. So I do think Kansas State will get the win by putting up a lot of points on the board in that matchup. Then you have a bye week, and then you play a road game in Stillwater. With this game particularly, it is a big-time matchup. And I think that this is the matchup where you start to feel where you really have lost Deuce Vaughn. I think that this is a loss here. I think that Will Howard is good. I think he's going to continue to be a good quarterback and improve. But with this matchup against Oklahoma State, without Deuce Vaughn, I am a little bit concerned that you are going to be able to get the production that you need from the run game, the kind of it factor that Deuce Vaughn had as your running back, where just hand the ball and he's going to get you 5-6 yards. Like, he was just kind of that guy of just hand it off and you're good. So I don't really know if I can attribute that same success, and I think that's one of kind of the matchups. Both these back-to-back road games is going to be incredibly difficult with that. Then you have a road game against Texas Tech as well, and I think that this is another loss in Lubbock. Both matchups, Lubbock and Stillwater, very tough places to play. Joey McGuire and Mike Gundy are both good head coaches. Mike Gundy has done it for a lot longer, but Joey McGuire is a good head coach and has proven so after a very successful season last year, going 8-5, I believe. So I think that with this team particularly, you are going to see a team very much going to be an improved Texas Tech team, and I think that it is very possible that you could get a big win here in Lubbock, but you could also take a loss home. Then you have a home game against TCU, and I think that is going to be a win. I think TCU, they have a lot to replace. I do think that Chandler Morris is a solid quarterback, and I think he can succeed. But the thing that I'm a bigger struggle with is that you did lose your offensive coordinator in Garrett Riley. So we'll see how much of it was Sonny Dykes, how much of it was Garrett Riley, and how much of it was the players like Quentin Johnson and Max Duggan and so on and so forth. Because the TCU team, they have a lot to replace. They also bring in a lot of good transfers like Trey Sanders and even a couple of big offensive tackles from Alabama. They bring in quite a bit of Bama's previous recruiting class, their 2022 edition. So they have a lot of talented players. All of those players, I believe, were 5 stars and some of the best at their position. So TCU definitely has a lot of talented players, but we'll see whether the more inexperienced team compared to the two is going to be able to succeed. But I think K-State, I think they'll get the win in the regular season matchup this time. Then they play Houston. Houston is probably the worst team in the Big 12, in my opinion. Depending on them or Cincinnati, I think Houston probably going to be a little bit worse. It kind of depends. I forget whether they play each other in a head-to-head matchup this year. They do, and Cincinnati heads down to Houston, so maybe Houston will win that and finish second to last. But Houston, they lost Alton McCaskill in the transfer portal, and not even to mention losing Clayton Tune or Tank Dell at the wide receiver and quarterback positions, respectively. You're going to struggle. It's going to be a struggle. You lost almost all your offensive weapons. You're breaking into a new quarterback, and you're breaking into a new conference. I see a big-time struggle here for Houston. Then you have a road game against Texas, and I kind of split this one with Texas Tech. I'm like, you'll win one of these two matchups, in my opinion. I think that you win the Texas matchup mostly because I have you losing the Texas Tech one, and it really is just kind of to even out the schedules. I think that it's nothing more than that. It's kind of where the other thing is that I think Texas can get a little bit cocky, and I think Kansas State is good at beating cocky. Last year, Kansas State beat a number 6 Oklahoma, beat a number 9 Oklahoma State, and beat a number 3 TCU. Did lose to number 8 TCU, but did get 3 top 10 wins. So that is quite impressive when you think about it. And even if you look at the year prior, the game against Oklahoma, number 6 in the country, only lost by 6. And then Baylor, number 11, only lost by 10. So this is a team that under Chris Kleinman has been able to get their fair share of wins against top-ranked teams, even beating Oklahoma back-to-back years prior when they were number 3 and number 5, respectively. Then you have a home game against Baylor. This is going to be a win. With this game being in Manhattan rather than in Waco, I think that gives you a massive advantage. And I think Will Howard at quarterback is really going to kind of be that decisive factor when you kind of think about it. But we'll see. It kind of depends. We'll have to see what happens with this offensive line. The offensive line was pretty solid last year. We'll kind of see where it ends up, because I think the offensive line particularly is going to kind of be one of the big deciding factors when it comes down to it. at the end of the day, because I think the offensive line being really good could be really, really helpful. So then you have a road game against Kansas, and this is a game I kind of went back and forth on. Obviously, it's a rivalry game. All of you Kansas State fans know that. And Kansas is good now. Kansas is good. Both Kansas and Kansas State, not historically known as elite level teams, but this year they both have a very good shot at being very good. And Kansas particularly, they have a lot of boomer bust with their roster. There's no doubt about that, because it all kind of hinges on the fact if you can keep Jalen Daniels healthy, because if Jason Beams has to step in, the team's going to be semi-competitive, but it's just not going to be very good. So you really are relying on one player staying healthy. But if he stays healthy, he was fantastic last year. 66% completion percentage, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 162 QBR, along with a solid defense led by Kenny Logan, their safety. It's going to be a good team. It is going to be a good team. But at the end of the day, I do think it is going to be a win for Kansas State. Kansas State just has a more complete roster. I think Chris Kleinman has been there a little bit longer, and I think that he is going to get the win. Finally, wrap it up. Iowa State win. You should have no issues here against the Cyclones. I think you will finish with a 10-2 record, and I think that's a pretty fair record. I think that Kansas State with a 10-2 record has another shot at a New Year's Six Bowl if you are able to get the Big 12 championship. I don't think you would get outside an at-large bid. You maybe would at 10-2, but I think that you'd be kind of sitting on the fence 50-50, but you would also probably, if a 10-2 record and a 7-2 conference record, once again, you're probably looking at another conference championship game. So it's a big question. What do you Wildcats think? And as always, hit 2 videos down below and the subscribe button up here. Help channel reach 1,200 subscribers. Become a subscriber today. And as always, have a great day. Bye, guys.